Hey, and welcome back to the podcast. We're here with return guest Stephen Somers after so many years. And Stephen started his entrepreneurial journey in 2014. He has a business called GrowMyReach.com. And Grow My Reach is a platform where online business owners can learn the exact skills required to become high-level marketers and disruptors of their own industries. So we'll be talking about the Vital Four, the Freedom Engine, or who the heck knows what. We're a couple of improvisational podcaster guys. Stephen, glad to see you again after I don't even know how many years.
I know, Robert. It's great to be here. I love chatting to you, and we should do it more often because you've got a great voice, you got a great vibe, and most importantly, you got a great show. So I can't wait to talk.
Well, you humble me, and you have a great voice as well. You have that British accent, and for some reason that makes any person like 10% more smarter and all those sorts of things. And so how the heck have you been? What have you been up to? And what is noteworthy, newsworthy that we need to find all about?
Well, a lot's happening. Obviously we talked about, you mentioned Grow My Reach there, and obviously Grow My Reach is happening because of what we're doing over at Marketplace Superheroes. I'm still very involved in that company. I mean, that's why I'm growing that company all the time. And that business now serves over 10,000 people, Marketplace Superheroes. We obviously teach Amazon over there, and we've built a big freight company off the back of that. And we've built a solutions company where we do like all these different services for Amazon sellers. And I suppose the point is that Grow My Reach has developed because having built up that company now to, an 8-figure business, we've just learned a lot over the years. And one of the biggest things I've learned, Robert, is that a lot of business owners haven't made the shift to becoming the marketer of what they're doing, and then just a marketer full stop, which is a Dan Kennedy idea. I didn't come up with that, but that shift, I guess, is one of the biggest things I've made over the last few years, where I've really focused on how can I market what I do better? How can I really double down on that? And I just spend my days now growing Marketplace Superheroes and taking what we've learned there and teaching people inside Grow My Reach, course creators, content creators, coaches, people like that, how we've done what we've done, basically.
And I love that. And this is the kind of thing where, there's, I guess, two parts of it, at least in my mind. There's trying to tap into I don't know if like failing forward is the right term, but just this idea of the forward momentum and just always moving on to the bigger and better things without kind of erasing your past successes. And then also there's that kind of concept of tinker and get the system running, so that way you can just, like you said, full time be the cheerleader. And it's one of these things where I have to like remind myself every few weeks of this idea, because if I don't, then for some reason my brain will just kind of get lazy and kind of fall back, because there's the 80-20 rule, right? People say, right, well, there's 80% of what you do that is a waste, but then the 20% is what will give you the most results. And most people do not optimize this. And most people, they just crank out the content, they create the videos, and then the YouTube channel is full of like 0 views. And you say, well, you need to flip that, right? You need to spend 20% of your time on the product and on all that sort of stuff, all the important stuff, but then 80%, way more than you think, in the getting the message out. And when you do the quick math in your head, you're like, that's 4 times as much. That's like if you did a 5-hour work week, then you spend Friday creating the content, but all the rest of the week you need to be kind of repeating your message. And you see this most with politicians, right? They're spending so much time just repeating and going to this other city and saying like almost the same thing. But if they don't, then no one hears about them. And it's just like, that's one of those harsh life lessons. It's like, I always have to drill in my head, because if I don't, then I will forget after a few weeks.
Yeah. And it's kind of like the scene in Indiana Jones, whenever Indiana Jones is there, and then there's this dude like jumps off a building with swords and everything, and he's like doing all these crazy moves, and you think Indiana Jones is done for. There's no way he's going to be able to beat this guy. But of course, he takes a gun out of his back pocket and shoots the guy, right? So it's kind of like a weirdly, I suppose you could say, funny scene, even though it's a very strange, it's not a nice thing to do, right? But I guess in marketing terms, it's kind of a little bit like that. So even now with Marketplace Superheroes and what we're doing with Grow My Reach, we're really trying to focus on that 20%, like you mentioned, that brings the results. Because you're right, like I work with a lot of people now who've come in who are coaches and experts in what they do. But the thing about it is that, like you said, they do have these YouTube videos with 2 and 3 views. They've got a podcast that's like, unfinished kind of thing. They've got TikToks going on. They've got Instagram. They're just doing all these different things. And the big thing I say to people is, distribution is the critical part of a business nowadays. And so what distribution being, obviously, like your email distribution is a big piece. SMS distribution is another big piece. You've obviously got, social media groups. That's another distribution channel. And yes, you've social media in general. But what I have focused on in growing Marketplace Superheroes, and now I work with clients on, is like, I speak to people all the time and I say, oh, your email. And they'll go, yeah, no, I use it now and again. And I'm like, are you kidding me? We send 1.4 million emails a month. Like, email is a massive part of what we do. And if you're not using it properly, you're not a real business. So I see a lot of people kind of on social media thinking this is the way to grow, when really, like, social media, I think a bit like the sprinkling on top of the cake a little bit, and then I feel like there's very important foundational pieces that should be in the business, like your email list, like an SMS list, and a direct mail list. Would you believe this is something we're even doing now in Marketplace Supers? We actually send mail to our clients because it's getting more difficult to get in front of people. So what's the one place now that we'll actually open? The mail, because we don't get very much mail anymore. So I think, like, if for anybody listening today with a business, you really review what distribution channels that you are using. Are you using them properly, or are you spending a lot of time kind of trying to get reach on social media and it's not working? Because even with us, you mentioned YouTube, we put a lot of focus into our YouTube channel with Marketplace Superheroes, and what we do is we email out our videos, we promote our videos, because if we don't, we won't get the views that we get, and it won't actually prompt YouTube to show the video to new audience as well, at least in the way we've been doing things. So yeah, I feel like you're right. Promoting what you're doing is important. Going out and doing the work, being on podcasts is important. But then when people hear your message, they come back maybe to your website or whatever, having that distribution channel in place is literally, for me, Robert, the most important thing as a marketer.
And I like that a lot. And I think that's a very helpful keyword to keep in mind, like distribution, because sometimes people will talk about like the content funnel or content recycling, and just a lot of these metaphors are unhelpful. And it always sounds just like a whole mishmash of just a whole bag of all these toys that are just kind of jingling around in there. But when you say distribution, I'm thinking like, okay, like when you have like a radio show or TV show or something, it's like you have your TV program and when you go to this city, or like you go to like St. Louis or you go to New York City, they're all on different stations on the TV dial, or they're on streaming, or they're on internet. So this term distribution, it really gets my gears going as far as just thinking like, okay, like there's a plan, and there's that repetition in there of like, if your fictional TV show is airing on Channel 7 in New York City, it's going to be there with some regularity, right? It'll be there like every week. It won't be one day on Channel 7 and then on Channel 10. It's like you're creating your network of all the places where it appears, and it might be awkward at first, or you might have to set up the TikTok or figure out that software. But then once you figure out that awkwardness, then you just repeat, and it becomes easier over time, right? Because you have a plan, you have a schedule, the tools, or your team gets more gelled, so that way you can just get the content out there. And so we talk about these kind of, I don't know, theories or about these concepts, but it's more fun to hear about the concrete stories, right? And especially with, you have all these thousands of clients, these customers now, you have Marketplace Superheroes. So do you have a fun story that we can dive into to really like hit home this whole distribution idea or this growth idea?
Yeah, maybe not a fun story, but I've got many stories I can certainly tell. Yeah, so with me, before I understood distribution, like I would lie awake at night sometimes looking at the ceiling, asking myself, where is money coming from? Because, we would stumble into sales a lot of times in the early days of Marketplace Superheroes. People may hear us on a podcast, check it out, but join, fantastic. we might do the odd webinar and people would join from there. But it was all very fragmented, There was no real deliberate nature to what we were doing. And I was sitting one night on a course, a live course that was being taught by a guy called Dr. Ben Atkins, really good friend of mine, smart guy. Because everything I've done, Rob, is like, you know Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
He's
everything I've done,
like a closer cafe, right?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was his thing. Yes, it's changed now. He's one of these guys. He always changes and evolves his brand name. It's Serial Progress Seeker now, I believe. But I've learned from everybody, and I brought everything together into one process, I suppose. So anyway, I'm listening to Dr. Ben one night, and he was talking about this week-long email sequence that he had, and it went from a Tuesday through to the following Monday. And there was something that was happening every day. So, for instance, I don't think you mind me mentioning this. On the Tuesday, it was like a warm-up email. Got something big coming tomorrow, that type of thing. The Wednesday then was what he would call, well, actually, I now would call the hook head slap. He has a different name on it. I call it a hook head slap because there's a hook to it. So in my Amazon business, let's just say it might be something like, why you suck at Amazon product research and I don't, or something like that. That type of subject line. And it's supposed to get people a little bit annoyed. Hey, what? How dare you, kind of thing. So then they come into the email, and of course I tell them, hey, I'm only having a bit of fun. But I actually show people in that Wednesday email the problem that's going on, what is it that people believe is the right way to do things, and then of course what they're doing wrong. So it's like, you believe you got to do this, but actually this is the truth. So that was like the Wednesday thing he talked about. Then the Thursday was the real problem you have. Remember yesterday we talked about this? This is your real problem, why you cannot be successful. And then, of course, teasing on Friday, I've got a solution to that problem. Friday, we sell something. We open the cart, and then, we work our way through until the Monday, selling that thing and closing it down. So I was sitting there that night, and I said, hold on a second. You literally do this every week. Like, you just do it every single week. And he said, yeah. And I thought that is really fascinating. He's creating literally something new all the time. He's selling it. So for a little while, I went down that road, but I realized, there was too many moving parts, creating too many things too often. It wasn't really for me. But that little piece there of like, you put together a very specific promotion just got my brain going. Like your gears were moving a couple of minutes ago. So long story short, a few years later, what we've eventually got to now in a company, and what we teach as well now in Grow My Reach, part of what we teach is this thing we call perpetual launch. So like you're always launching, but you're launching in different ways. So we have what we call our value weeks. These are weeks where we don't pitch anything. We send out video content. We send out podcasts, might even send out a survey, might even do like a competition where we're giving away stuff. So this is one of the building blocks of our promotional calendar. Then we realize, okay, so value is good. That fills up the goodwill tank, which is really important with your audience, or otherwise you're going to really annoy them, and rightly so, because you're just always offering or selling. So that was one piece. Then it was, okay, we have different kinds of promotions now. So we had the 1 week type thing, like I just explained a couple of minutes ago. Then we came up with this 2 week launch, which is kind of like almost like a mini version of like what Jeff Walker used to do with his product launch formula. So if anybody in the audience remembers that, and he's still doing it now, but it's a very complicated launch process. And then what we started to do, Robert, was we started to collect all these different ways of doing the 2 week launches. So for instance, we learned we can do a Facebook mini group, something I learned from my friend Caleb O'Dowd, where you create a little mini group on Facebook, you open it for 2 weeks, and you teach in there, then you offer something and you close it down. So that was another little building block within the 2 week thing we could do. And we started finding all these different ways. We could do like a little challenge. We could do this. And all of a sudden we were able to build out these 90-day building blocks of value, 1 week long little promotion for something, a little bit more value, 2 week launch, value, 3 week launch, this type of situation. And what that did for me was it gave me certainty. And as a business owner, one of the things people lack is certainty because they don't know what they're ever promoting. And so there's a great book by Daniel Priestley, The Entrepreneur Revolution, I think it's called. And he was like, good businesses are campaign driven. And that really then solidified this whole big thing. And nowadays we're campaign driven. We do campaigns for people who haven't bought something from us yet. We do campaigns for everybody if it's a new thing. We do campaigns for buyers. We do campaigns for specific buyers. So we have a whole little world going on here. And the goal really is to provide a ton of value. That's important. But then it is to monetize the business fully, because it's also my belief in this space, especially in the course creation space. A lot of people are like going, oh, all you need is like a, I don't know, a $6,000 program and like a mastermind, 25 grand or whatever. But in my opinion, that's a very limited way to run a business. Because what about all the other people who don't have 6 grand or 25 grand? You're effectively saying, well, forget about them. What about the people then who don't have enough, you haven't built enough trust with yet? What are you going to do for them? Are you just going to keep sending them to a video sales letter all the time? That's not going to work very well. So we also need to have what we call connection, which we do in our value weeks, but we also do in the other weeks as well. So the easiest form of connection, I'm going to tell everybody today that you can try, and we do it. We do a weekly show in our Facebook group for our buyers specifically. We come up with different names. It was like called Win Your Wednesday. It's now called the Wednesday Wealth Show. And it's just a live stream on Facebook. And what we do is we understand all the things that are holding back our clients. And we literally tell stories about those things. We break those belief patterns. We rebuild those belief patterns. And what it does is it enables the audience then and our clients to tune into something every week, as well as all the other stuff that we do. But they know we'll be there. They know they can ask us questions, and they know we're going to break some of those things that are holding them back. So I know that was a lot there, but that's like pretty much a full system that we've created, having had nothing in the past.
And that's excellent. I think that everyone watching, listening needs to rewind 5 minutes and just like watch that again, because there's so much packed in there. And what came to mind there is just this idea that, well, you're like your customers get trained, right? And you can train them to expect certain things from you, and it'll take a while, right? It might take like a few months. And then, but once you have your existing customers trained in that way, others can come in and kind of see the existing whirlpool that you've created. And what also comes to mind as well is that, like, you as the business owner or the marketer, you kind of need to train yourself as well, right? You need to train yourself to be in this perpetual launch mode, in these 90-day windows, and then find a way to not get bored. Because I mean, I'm sure you've dealt with this over the years, and I have too. And I've seen so many other people fall by the wayside. I mean, the weekly webinar, I did that for 3 years straight. And I don't know why I talked myself out of not doing it, but people used to make fun of me for doing that. And I'm like, but you can either choose to kind of have this plan, have the schedule, be organized, and have there is some stress with the launching, right? Like something needs to be done today, or you're not sure if it'll all fill in, or maybe the registration or the traffic's not there. There is stress, but there's the stress of that, or there's the stress of not being able to pay the bills, or saying, well, I'm stressed because I don't know where my next $20,000 is coming from. I don't know how I'm going to pay the employees. So it's like, choose your heart, right? Choose your stress. And so yeah, that's a wonderful kind of structure there. And what's really great about kind of hearing your thought process is that you're improving it, right? Like you even said something like the first, it was just like the live streams, but now you're saying there's a structure to it. There's figure out everyone's objections, figure out everyone's problems. You mess with the name. You mentioned things like, contests and things like that. So it's like, it is awkward at first. And at first, maybe the problem is just getting some kind of regularity. Maybe then the problem is getting some kind of attendance or some participation. But then it seems like once you kind of have the momentum going, then you can put these add-ons in there to make it fun. So that way you yourself can prevent the boredom, but then it also appears newsworthy, because even though it's week 72 of your Facebook live stream, you don't just say, well, this is week number 72 of Q&A. You have like a theme and a hook, and you're always trying new ways of getting the attention. So it's like there's a handful of important ingredients, but just the takeaway from what you were saying there is train your list and also train yourself.
And you pick up on, you said a lot of very intelligent things there. I have to say, you're really good at picking up on all the pieces of where I was going, which is great, and it makes sense because you're very experienced. But the other piece that you mentioned, one word you said there, and I'm going to add on 2 more, is the word new. And then there's 2 more: unique and exciting. We call these a new offer, NUE. So a new, unique, and exciting. So everything has to feel like that all the time. Because unfortunately, a few things. Number one, I think the regularity is important, but also it can be a problem. Because what I see a lot of people do, right, is they'll be like, I'm so consistent every day. I'm live streaming on whatever social media. And of course, there's 3 likes and 2 comments or whatever, right? And they're liking it themselves and they're commenting themselves, right? I see all that kind of stuff, right? And I get it, but it's like the problem is that they're saying the same thing in the same way all the time. There's other people then who are making the same promotions in the same order at the same time. So like you said, quite rightly, you do have to train your audience. It's a good opportunity, but also you've got to keep it fresh too. And so you got to keep on thinking, what's a way I can promote something? And I'm going to give you an example that is truly different. So like last year, for example, right, we have a coaching program. And what we did was we thought, okay, let's try one of these Facebook mini groups thing I mentioned earlier on today. So we hadn't done one before. So we built this group, buyers only, didn't have any non-buyers in this group. It wasn't even that many people in there. I think we only had something like 400 and something people in the group because we just had a small promotional window. But what we did was we actually did mail the outro to the rest of the audience and stuff like that. So more people came in as we went on. But here's what was really interesting, right? We sold without a call, which people would say it's impossible. We sold about 110 $6,000 coaching programs through that process, right? Now, that program had been out for years. We had it available, but it was because we had the attention now of people for a small window, we were able to then speak to them. And that's the thing, like you've got to be thinking of different ways you can get attention again, because people doing, like you were talking about the weekly webinar. I think the weekly webinar works great when you fresh traffic coming in all the time, of course, but obviously if it's the same people, it's like the Mediterranean, if it keeps washing around, it can't get out, right? It doesn't go, right? And I've been there as well, and I've had that. But when you can have a lot of fresh people, then that's great, because that is new to a lot of those people. So that's my big thing as well, Robert. It's like, yes, you got to be regular. Yes, you've got to be consistent, but like, don't be consistent if the things you're doing are never getting you results. Like, even now, like you said, another thing, you said we're always improving. Absolutely. We're making changes constantly. Like even last two weeks ago, I realized, one thing I haven't done in a long time, I'm sure you do this, right? I haven't done this in a long time, was story-based emails, just on a regular day-to-day emails that were story-based, had a very soft offer in the email, nothing crazy, but it was just a nice way to, if we're not in the madness of promoting something, we're telling stories, we're building relationships again. Doesn't matter if we don't make that much money from those things, we make a little bit, but what's more important is that we've re-engaged in a different way, in a fresh way. Because equally, if I just keep telling stories every single day, that gets boring eventually. So that's my big thing. Is like, you got to keep it fresh, because if you don't, you'll just kind of see the gradual degradation, really, because you'll just keep doing the same things, not get better results, and then you'll get, peed off, and then things will start to go down a bit,
Yeah, it's a scary place to be. It's like a death spiral with the lag time. So you don't even know what it might have been, like that inciting incident 6 months ago, and then that led to this, and that led to this, and then the audience slowed, and then you got bored because there was less audience. It's like the Roman Empire collapsing. It's just like it slowly happens, and then you wonder, well, how the heck did this even get in motion? So it's a lot to navigate, right? Like you want to avoid that entrepreneurial ADD and always doing something different, and just like working so hard on creating a whole new completely different topic live stream, but then, like you said, you don't want to have like the exact same thing where you could almost just hit replay on the video and it's the exact same video. Because like years ago, I heard there was some story about, I don't know if it was like a speaker or some preacher, but like he just kept going to speaking event after speaking event, and it was like word for word the same joke for like 20 years. And I'm like, well, that is a cute story, but that's not a reason to kind of rest on your laurels and just become comfortable with just like so much of the sameness. And I think about these these influencers or these marketers that kind of always get my attention. Like you think of like, Cardone or Gary Vee, or even like Damon John is pretty good with that, where like they have the super high ticket stuff. Like you don't even know what price it is, right? It's probably like 500 grand. You're not even good enough to see how to even buy from this person, but they have so much of the content on the free level. Like they get so much engagement, and they give away like almost everything, almost all the information for free. It's just the help and the coaching is what costs money. And so I think about like who really impresses me as far as what you're talking about, and like that Dave Ramsey YouTube channel. His clickbait gets me almost every day. And I mean, Dave Ramsey, he hasn't taught anything new in 20 years. It's always like the 7 baby steps, but then there's always something where like he taps into the news, or there's some new thing that people are talking about, and like he keeps it fresh better than anyone else. And I just keep that in mind as far as what you're saying, like kind of always be out there and kind of have that consistent message, but be tinkering, and also kind of be aware that, people change and news change, and maybe they'll talk more about this subject or that subject. So if you apply that to your industry and you kind of connect, it's always a moving target, but if you connect that from their state of awareness now, and then saying, well, based on what's in the news, or based on what's happening in your industry, or the problems that these customers are having, you do the surveying, the polling, then here's where you need to be. And I love how just a lot of what your method of the madness, a lot of it is, whatever works, including the old out-of-date techniques that maybe everyone else stopped doing, but that's not a reason for you to stop doing, or go and revisit, be like, oh, it's been a while since I sent the snail mail or sent the postal mail. And then when you go and take the action, you and I both know that there's so much like counterintuitiveness, right? Like sometimes having the ugly web page or the ugly email like works better, or like the sending the handwritten kind of almost looking homemade mailer in the mail versus the something that looks super slick gets more people to open it, because if it's too good looking, they'll think it's like junk mail. So there's so much to think about, so much to navigate, and I could talk with you all day about this, but we want to make sure to send people your way, because you and I like to be above board and say, like, we're not on this podcast just for our health, right? We're both we're both on our podcast to kind of do some networking and also to put out the content. And you are here to promote the Grow My Reach program and the Marketplace Superheroes and anything else you have going on. So this is like the commercial, right? But this is the teaser. So someone says, I got a little bit of a commercial teaser about Stephen Summers and his unique insights and his marketing. I heard about his website, heard about his live stream. So if someone says, oh man, I'm hooked, I got a really good taste of what Stephen and his company are all about, I want to move to the next step, I want to find out what he has going on, what do we do next? What's the next level?
Okay, so if you are then a course creator, content creator, and you're looking to learn how do I go away from just a course and turn it into a company, an actual business, then growmyreach.com is a great place for you. There's a free guide there as well that we created, and it's not like a 3-page free guide. It's a very detailed guide, and it talks about something we call a freedom engine. It's a process that we teach all course creators, content creators on the way in, whereby it's a new type of funnel that, like you just said, it takes a lot of old stuff and we've modernized it, and it's working incredibly well. It'll continue to work incredibly well. It outperforms a 20-minute VSL. It outperforms, the webinar to a direct call if someone's never heard of you before, in my opinion. So go and check it out. You'll learn exactly how it all works over at growmyreach.com. And of course, if you're listening, you're like, oh, this Amazon thing, what's that about? I'm not really a content creator or course creator. You can definitely check out Marketplace Superheroes. We have helped almost 10,000 people now learn how to build a business on Amazon. We teach various different strategies on Amazon, not just private label, teach a lot of different stuff. So even if you want to start with a low budget, you can. If you want to build a bigger company on Amazon, we teach you how to do that as well. So marketplacesuperheroes.com is great. And our YouTube channel is really good, has great content over there. So that would be my 2 things. Amazon, go check out Marketplace Superheroes. If you're a course creator, content creator, check out Grow My Reach. And hey, I look forward to hearing from you. And as always, Robert, I love what you're doing a great job. You're always almost Robert Plant, but not quite Robert Plant. So that's okay. That's okay though. I still love you all the same.
And it fits in with your philosophy of having the sameness but difference, right?
Exactly.
You can't be
There we
completely
go.
same, can't be completely different.
Exactly.
And I assume that when someone goes to growmyreach.com and they get that free guide, that the funnel will lead them eventually into that Facebook group you mentioned.
Yeah, it's gonna that will actually lead you into a number of different videos where we're teaching exactly how we do this Freedom Engine. It'll break down exactly what that is. It'll break down this thing we call the V4 marketing funnel, which is a 4-video funnel that we've created. So it'll literally teach you all of that. I mean, you could walk away from that and you'd be like, okay, I could have a go at that. So that would be what you'll get there. And over at Marketplace Superheroes, we'll give you there's tons of free training, free Facebook group, stuff like that. The Facebook groups that I was mentioning are typically more of our buyer groups in Marketplace Superheroes, but we will be doing a free group in Grow My Reach that's going to actually do a lot of what we do in our buyer groups, because like you mentioned earlier on, for that particular audience, we're going to really move the free line, as it's called, quite far back, because there's a lot of people out there shouting, and our goal is just to be the most trusted voice always in the Amazon space, in this space. So we'll just give as much as we possibly can, and then if you like what we're talking about, if you want us to help you out getting it done, we can do that. And the results we've gotten from the clients we've worked with in Grow My Reach so far have been unreal. Doubling businesses very, very quickly just by doing simple stuff.
Well, fabulous. And so you said that you're at 10,000 students?
Over at Marketplace Superheroes, almost 10,000 students. Yes. Well, we do have 10,000. We actually do, because we've got a number of different programs, but people usually see our big group, which is 9 and a bit thousand, but we've over 10,000 clients at this point in time now. Yeah.
Well, and I just asked because it's been in a few years and you got to 10,000. And so in a few more years, when you come back for a return visit, maybe you'll be at 100,000. When we first met, we were just audio, now we're video. So maybe when you have 100,000, students will be in like 3D virtual space metaverse. Who knows what things will evolve to.
Hopefully it won't be that long. Although, yes, this is a great, I want to give you a shout out as well, because I know what it's like creating content, being consistent with content. I want to give you a shout out because this is an incredibly consistent show, and the way you run the show is the right way. I mean, you promote episodes properly, you do so much. So for those of you listening today, I'm going to ask you to give Robert's show a review, because he puts a lot of effort in. If you've been enjoying the show, give it a review. Do it for me. All right.
Fantastic. Well, that's a perfect place to leave off. So growmyreach.com, if you're the kind of person where you've been you feel like you've been asleep and you've been browsing social media, been listening to the podcast, and you keep thinking like, I should do this, I should do that. But then finally you find an episode and you say, this is a new path. This is a new opportunity to get to my goals. And it makes a lot more sense than some of like the vagueness. He says, I've got this exact thing that outperforms the VSL. I've got this exact plan for you. You do this on Tuesday, this on Wednesday. This is the guy you need to listen to. And it's very simple. There's one single call to action: growmyreach.com. Go there now, get in the funnel, and check out all the moving the free line type content that Steven and his company have for you. And that way you can apply it, you can dip your toe in the water, you can start using it. And then once you see the results, that you can go back to the well again and again. And then, join his group and join his team. So growmyreach.com is the place to go. And thank you, Steven, for stopping by, for the compliments, for the randomness, for the authenticity, for the fun. I had a lot of fun. And growmyreach.com is the place where everyone should go. So thank you, Steven.
Thank you, Robert. You're the best. Cheers, mate.